Hey everyone, I'm Scott and welcome to the first video in the Scott Story playlist. In this playlist I will be talking about my story of being diagnosed with MOG Antibody Disease. MOG Antibody Disease is a rare neuroimmune condition where the immune system mistakenly attacks the body. This often causes damage in places such as the brain, spinal cord and the optical nerves within the eye. As part of this playlist I'm going to include what the attack was like, the symptoms I had, how I was diagnosed and how I recovered. This first episode I'm going to be talking about the attack, which happened in March 2020, the symptoms that I had, and what happened until being admitted into hospital. So, let's get started. So, my MOG antibody disease attack started on Monday, the 2nd of March 2020. This week was also the week where I was off work studying, and I had 2 accounting exams. One of these exams was on the Tuesday and the other on the Thursday, so I'd taken the whole leave off as annual leave to help with revising. Please bear this in mind when considering my actions. I've been studying for many months and these exams are not exactly cheap, so I didn't want to miss them. But I also acknowledge that I probably should have gone and got medical help a lot sooner, and you'll realise this when you see what my symptoms were. So, on Monday morning I woke up with a small ache on the lower left side of my back. It was around where my kidneys are located, and I didn't really think much of it. It just kind of felt like a small bruise, like what you'd get when you walk into something if you catch like the corner of a table. And there wasn't really much to it, there was no pain, so I continued. I was in the library all day revising, and it didn't really bother me. No pain, it just felt like a little bit of pressure was on that point. And that was about it for Monday. On Tuesday I woke up and the same ache had expanded around my waist and up my left side of my body. The ache now felt numb and bruised, like there'd been physical impact to my body. It almost felt like I'd been wearing a really tight pair of jeans and they'd like dug into my skin, and basically all that was left was the whole area, the whole ring around my waist just felt bruised. So this day was also the first exam that I had of the week, and this exam was set to last for 4 hours. The exam was due to start at 9 AM, but was actually delayed for 3 hours due to technical issues. As you can imagine, a 4-hour exam delayed for 3 hours, that takes up a significant amount of time during your day. And as I was waiting during the delay, the ache seemed to get worse and worse the more time went on. So eventually the exam was started and I got through it, finished, and there wasn't really much of a change in symptoms for me for the rest of the day. Okay, so now we're on to day 3, which was the Wednesday, the 4th of March. And I woke up on Wednesday morning and the ache had spread from one side of my chest all the way to the other. And now I was starting to have difficulties breathing. Every single time I took in a deep breath, I could feel my chest ache. And this started to affect my breathing as I wanted to stop the aching. And I was doing this by taking, shorter breaths. So I decided to take some painkillers as I had another full day of revision ahead of my final exam, which was tomorrow on the Thursday. The painkillers managed to work and I managed to get through the day with no other changes in my symptoms until around 7 o'clock at night when I went to the toilet. So I had an urge that I needed to go to the toilet to release urine, but when I got there I found that I was unable to go, just unable to release anything. After a few attempts of standing, sitting and kind of dancing around the toilet, I was able to release some urine, but not as much as what I'd been expecting to, because of how much I needed to go to the toilet. So at this point, I'm kind of adding up all the symptoms which had happened earlier in the week, and I've realised now something is definitely wrong. But it was getting on late at night, and I didn't exactly want to go to the accident and emergency department, because this late at night the doctors wouldn't have been open. So I decided that I'm going to leave it till the next morning. I got an exam, the next day, and I didn't really want to miss that either. So I decided to see what I was going to be like when I woke up tomorrow morning and then make a decision then. Okay, so day 4, Thursday the 5th of March 2020. Now this is where things start to get interesting. When I first woke up, I noticed I had pins and needles in both of my legs, which I thought was really weird. So I know sometimes when you sleep you wake up and you might have pins and needles in one of your legs, but I had it in both, so I couldn't quite work out how I'd managed to do that. So I went to the bathroom and I was still unable to go to the toilet, and the pins and needles on my legs didn't go away even after I'd done showering and got ready for the day. So at this point I know something's definitely wrong and I do need to seek medical advice. So I was weighing up the options in my head, whether to go to the exam or not, or whether to just seek medical advice right there and then. So I worked out that in where I took the exam centre was actually 2 minutes walk away from the nearest hospital. So I decided that I was going to go sit the exam and then I'll ring the doctors and then see what they want me to do. If they wanted me to go to the accident and emergency department, that was 2 minutes walk away and that can be easily done. So I decided to go to the exam, and the exam was due to start at 9 o'clock in the morning again, and this one lasts for 3 hours and 15 minutes. So nothing new happened when I was in the exam, managed to get through it. And then after I'd done that, I went to the toilet again, tried once more, and still couldn't go at all. So I decided to ring the doctors, and they wanted me to go into the clinic for an appointment with the doctor after mentioning my symptoms and how they progressed through the week. Although I did forget to mention the pins and needles in my legs, which I'd only just got that morning. I just forgot to mention it. So I decided to get some food and then walk from the exam centre into the city centre to then get a bus to travel to the clinic. And on the way walking to the city centre, I began to feel like I was limping, that my left leg was just a little bit weaker than my right leg, and kind of it felt like I was limping a little bit, like staggering a little bit. So at this point, it's like something's definitely happening, and so I need to get to the clinic fast for this appointment. So I made it to the clinic, and before my appointment, I tried again to use the toilet and had no success. So when seeing the doctor, I mentioned my symptoms and how they progressed through the week. So started as obviously the little bruise, my back, and then how that changed to affecting the whole top of my body. And now I can't go to the toilet, and they seem to be really bothered about the not going to the toilet bit. So he went and got a bladder scanner and did that, and the bladder scanner confirmed that I was holding, it showed 1,000 millilitres of urine, which is apparently the highest that it can read. It can't read any more than that. And that concerned him, and he said that we need to refer you to the hospital, to the surgical assessment unit, and you might need a catheter, and just go there for further diagnosis, because he was unsure about what it was or what could be causing it. So I then organised to get a taxi from the doctor's clinic to the surgical assessment unit of the hospital. And when I got there, they booked me in, and I wasn't waiting too long before they came and took some of my blood for testing. And I was given this bed or trolley in this area and waited there until the on-duty consultant came to see me. And after doing a few tests, so the neurological test, and asking a few questions about my symptoms, he came up with a temporary diagnosis that it could be MS, but further testing was needed. And as part of that was also given a catheter was also inserted, which relieved my bladder, the urine that I was holding, which helped a little bit with my symptoms. It felt like I was less, in pain then, because I was able to release all that urine. An hour or so later, I was sent for an MRI scan of my spine, and I believe this was the lower spine, what they were looking at, and that took around 20 minutes. But because this happened, this was quite late at night now, the results weren't going to come back until the next day. So they basically said, we have to admit you into hospital here in the surgical assessment unit, and we'll see what your results are like tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. I'd been in contact with my parents at this point, and they'd come to visit me. So they were there when they said, you're going to be admitted for the night at the very least, and we'll see what happens. At this point, I was in the bed bay area of the surgical assessment unit, and I had to move into the other half of the area, it's like the ward area for people who are going to be staying there overnight. So I had to walk from this trolley in one area to the other, and it was just down basically a really long corridor, and I had to turn right, and that's where I was supposed to be for the night. And as I was trying to walk there, I realised that as I jumped off of the bed, I'd lost more feeling in my legs, and they'd become a lot more weaker. And I could feel the ground beneath my feet, but it was all like fuzzy, it was like pins and needles. So I could feel that there was ground below me, but I couldn't quite work out where my legs were. So I had to visually look down and guide my legs 1 foot at a time to walk. because otherwise I just had no sense of balance at all. So I had to walk down this hallway, and I was holding onto the wall for support, whilst holding this catheter bag as well, which didn't help. I had to walk down this corridor into the ward area where I got to my bed, and that's where I was going to be staying for the night until I got the results back. Okay, I'm going to leave the story here for today. Thank you for watching, and if you wanted to hear more, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to MyMyelitis YouTube channel. Liking the video boosts the video in YouTube's algorithm, which will then promote it to more people who are looking for videos on MOG Antibody Disease and other related conditions. This will also help in raising awareness of these conditions to others. The more people who know about this increases the likelihood of funding being granted for research, so we can look into these conditions even further. Subscribing and clicking the notifications bell will make sure you never miss an upload from MyMyelitis again. So if you're looking for part 2 of this story, that's the best way of how you're going to find out. So thanks again, and I'll see you in part 2.